Welcome, everyone, to the 2025 Payments Canada Summit Digital Experience. My name is Ryan Grundy. I'm the lead of ecosystem engagement at Payments Canada and the host of the Summit series. I'm joined today by Craig Reiff, Senior Vice President, Core Payments for MasterCard. In his role, Craig is focused on innovating and unlocking new opportunities for MasterCard's core payments business in Canada, which includes credit, debit, prepaid, and digital payments, helping to accelerate the growth of secure, convenient, and accepted payment solutions in the market. Since joining MasterCard in 2012, Craig has remained focused on the company's products and along the way has also led small business, open banking, and commercial products. So, Craig, your bio there has a lot of tie-ins with our 2025 theme at the Payments Canada Summit, which is innovate, collaborate, and transform. So, welcome to you, Craig, and looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Ryan. Great to be here.
Well, thanks for being here. So, I think we'll kick it off by talking a little bit about your current initiatives. Maybe difficult to sort of encapsulate, but just wondering what your top priorities are these days.
So we're really here at Mastercard in Canada focused on my world is really about digital payments, and digital payments really being a generic term, but when we think about what digital payments means, it's really about a focus of how do we look at when you're buying online or in a face-to-face environment, it's safe, easy, and secure. And if we actually go back and we think about the history of payments, I'm not going to start with the days of knuckle busters because that's going to age me way too much. But if you really think about the world of where we evolved and went from a world where we were on mag stripe, and then we evolved into the world of chip and pin, and then eventually into contactless, and now we've really just evolved into the next phase, which is digital payments. Again, both in the face-to-face or point of sale environment as well as online. Our job is really focused here in terms of how we can start to evolve that landscape here and ensure that consumers, as they can pay how they want, where they want, the experience is very seamless and easy in both that face-to-face environment as well as when they're making payments in an online standpoint.
Yeah, no, excellent. It's funny. You sort of indicated you're dating yourself on chip and pin. I remember that well as well. And you talked a little bit about the need to balance that innovation with safety and security. It's funny in this day and age, we're so accustomed to sort of frictionless payments that sometimes taking that extra step seems so cumbersome. But obviously, we have to remind ourselves occasionally that there are steps that are required in order to ensure that some of the more sort of sensitive matters when it comes to financial transactions are indeed safe and sound. So definitely appreciate that response. Um, Circling back to the theme for the Payments Canada Summit for 2025, again, innovate, collaborate, and transform. Just wondering, what does innovation mean to you? It's a word that gets bandied about a lot, obviously, but what do you think will be the biggest driver of change in payments?
Yeah, so let's start with what innovation means, right? I think it's a really great part to start, and really gets into the next part of your question, which is innovation is really about anticipating of needs. And for us, in a very complex ecosystem of what we're in here in payments, the needs are both, as I mentioned off the top, always the end consumer, but also participants within the industry. So it's our opportunity to really look and say, where is this industry going? What are the needs of all the constituents within the industry? And it's not about innovating for the sake of innovating. It's innovating to make sure that we're actually meeting those needs of all the players. And it's also our opportunity to really say, where is the industry going? So I think no one has that crystal ball. We all can get a little bit of a sense in terms of, from our perspective, understanding where consumer needs and tastes will go, understanding where technology will evolve over time, and then understanding obviously the needs of the ecosystem participants will go. And it's really marrying all those two together to make that determination in terms of where do we need to innovate. And we all hear the terms small I, big I innovation, and it really is the balance of both. And you're really trying to play the small I at a little bit more of the shorter term adjustments and fix, and big I innovation a little bit longer term, and how do we really set a vision in terms of where we need to go as an industry. And certainly where we come from a MasterCard perspective, and it goes back to the previous comments around truly digitizing payments. We have that vision in terms of where digitized payments go, where we want to be in terms of ensuring that all checkouts are going to be simple, secure, and then it's really how we actually work with our ecosystem participants to get there.
Excellent. No, that's a great response. I think it's, you talked about innovation, sort of those cliches that get bandied about, large I innovation, small I innovation. But at the end of the day, something you'd also touched upon was really it's about meeting those consumer needs, at the end. Um, and obviously, various entities within the payments ecosystem intersect with clients, customers in a different way. There'll be perspectives garnered through your line of business, and maybe another line of business could potentially garner, a different perspective. So, thinking a little bit about that, where do you see opportunities for collaboration across the ecosystem? Kind of wondering if you have any examples around how collaborative approaches may have led to better outcomes for you.
Yeah. I mean, we're as an industry overall, and one of the beauties and the excitements of payments and everyone that's going to be watching this is part of this industry that we're in is that we can't do anything without collaborating. It's an ecosystem but it's been complex and it continues to become more and more complex as we've evolved over time, and we'll continue to see that. So collaboration really is the center of all that we do. From a MasterCard perspective, we really do pride ourselves as being that connector and bringing various participants across the ecosystem to help us move the industry in terms of where we're going. It's not all about any one individual party. It's all about how do we move the industry holistically. I mean, if we think about, examples of how we have started to tokenize a transaction, that's a great example of that's just not one singular party as we drive out, we have our tokenization capabilities, but how that fits within the whole payments ecosystem. And you've got obviously from an issuance side, the merchant and the acquirer from an acceptance side, the wallet providers from a capability standpoint. I mean, that's a beautiful prime example of these are not one party player. That's pure collaboration that's occurring across the ecosystem. The other one that we really start to see is then that's the globality. I mean, MasterCard as being a global company, and we think about how we collaborate. It's also a lot around how we collaborate across our network and across the globe for various players, not just within the Canadian market, but across the globe. And that sort of goes also back to the point around innovation that we were previously talking. The beauty of being global is we can see innovations that are occurring in other markets for different speeds, different paces that occur, and we're able to help collaborate and bring those ideas to the ecosystem. And sometimes Canada might just not be ready, or maybe we're at the forefront. So I always see it as a little bit of a collaboration. Sometimes it's a push-pull relationship. Are we importers or exporters? Are we ready to do something a little bit early in Canada that we can export into the rest of the world? Sometimes the rest of the world's a little bit earlier and we can then import it into Canada. But again, all in the sense of innovation and collaboration.
That global perspective you'd alluded to is critical. I mean, I think in Canada, there are many things in Canada, I think, where we kind of have, things good enough. But you'll
Mhm.
sort of travel abroad to other jurisdictions and see what better looks like, or see, what opportunities do exist outside of our borders here in Canada. So having that global perspective is, certainly important. I mean, like many things, it takes a village, to meet those emerging and existing client needs. Kind of moving, bringing the microscope down from the village, we'll focus a little bit more on MasterCard. When you look ahead, what do you see as being the greatest opportunity for your organization?
Yeah. So I continue to be, not to continually say the same thing around digital payments. I continue to be super excited about what we're going to be able to do in the world of digital payments. I still think we're somewhat scratching the surface. I think you still have an experience right now that is not consistent in terms of how consumers are making payments in both the physical world and then even in the digital world. There's a lot of diversity in terms of how we're making payments. So I'm really excited about a world that the consumer is really first. The consumer is really looking at a very simple experience. It becomes very easy to pay. And then even if we think about the whole experience from an onboarding experience in terms of when I'm going to acquire a product, and I can simply put it into a wallet right away, and I can start spending from day one. And when my credentials are available in an online checkout environment, and I have to do very little, and I can just seamlessly pay. When we're not really thinking about payments, that's what's really excited, and we're on that journey, and that's where we're going to continue to go. And then again, we can't say this with all wrapping around, the world of the words safety and security. We cannot do any of this until the ecosystem continues to have that wrapper of safety and security. which is obviously needed for us, but also for consumers to have that confidence in terms of using their products in a digital environment. So, I'm really excited about what we have to offer. I think just to touch on another point around what you mentioned before, Canada does often have this sense of just, we're doing our thing, we're doing it right. I really think there's a great opportunity for Canada to really leapfrog and be a leader globally from an innovation standpoint and start to show more and more the world that some pretty incredible innovations that can come out of this country, and we can be proud to say we're first or one of the first across the globe.
That's excellent. I mean, it's funny as I have these conversations, around what the future of payments is. I mean, it's always a sort of drive towards friction free. The irony being that the future of payments is that they kind of disappear, or at least sort of fall into
Yeah.
the background, and that it becomes easier. But then again, as we alluded to earlier, there's always that emphasis on safety and security because when it comes to your finances, I mean, trust is critical. So definitely your response resonates. Craig, it was an absolute pleasure having this conversation with you today. Definitely appreciate your taking the time, to join us, and I look forward to having the opportunity to continue the conversation. So, thank you to everybody who's tuning into the 2025 Summit Digital Experience, and hope you enjoy the sessions. Thank you very much. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Ryan.